All right, let's pull back the curtain on the digital world and look at the invisible engine that makes pretty much every app you use actually work. It all starts with a moment we've all had, and it's super frustrating. You know the feeling, right? You're trying to check your bank balance or maybe book a ride, and you tap the button and just nothing. The screen just sits there. Well, the reason for that little moment of panic often lies in a part of the app you never ever see. So think of an app like a restaurant. You've got the storefront, that's the user interface, the UI, with all the nice looking buttons and menus you interact with. But the real action happens in the back, in the kitchen. And the thing that carries your order from the storefront to the kitchen and brings the food, or in this case the data, back to you, that's the API. If that messenger gets the order wrong or gets lost on the way, you get nothing. So how do you make sure that Messenger, that API, is actually reliable? Well, that's exactly where API testing comes in. It's like the head chef doing a quality control check in the kitchen long before any food ever gets to a customer's table. And this is where we see a huge difference in strategy. You could just wait for a customer to complain that their food is cold. That's kind of like testing the storefront, the UI. It's late in the game. Or you could check the ovens and taste the ingredients in the kitchen before you even open for the day. That's API testing. It's just so much faster, it's more direct, and you catch problems way, way earlier. And the payoffs for doing this are massive. Finding those bugs early means fewer crashes for you, the user. It means making sure the data is correct, and this is a big one, it verifies security so your personal information stays safe. It also checks that the app can handle a ton of people using it at once without breaking. It's just a fundamentally more stable and efficient way to build software you can actually rely on. Okay, so what does this kitchen inspection actually involve? What are we looking for? Well, it really boils down to a 4-point check to make sure everything is running exactly as it should. First up, functionality. This is the most basic question. Does it work? If you ask for your account balance, does the API actually return an account balance? Or does it, give you the weather forecast for tomorrow? This test just makes sure the API gives the correct, expected response for any given request. Second, reliability. Because it's not enough for it to work once. You need it to work every single time. This test checks if the API performs dependably, over and over and over again, delivering that same correct result without any surprises. Number 3 is performance. Let's be honest, an app that works perfectly but takes 30 seconds to load is basically broken, right? Speed is everything. Performance testing is where we see how the API handles a huge flood of users, making sure it stays snappy and responsive even when it's under a ton of pressure. And finally, number 4, security. This is where we check if all the doors and windows are locked. It's about 2 key things: authentication, which asks, are you really who you say you are? And authorization, which asks, okay, you are who you say you are, but are you actually allowed to see this information? This is what stops someone else from seeing your data. Absolutely crucial. Okay, so we know what we're testing, but how do testers actually talk to the API? Well, they use a set of simple, clear commands. You can almost think of them as verbs for the digital world. It's really just a simple list of actions. You use get when you want to read or retrieve some data. You post something when you want to create something new, like a social media post. Put or patch are for updating existing information. And delete, well, I think you can guess what that one does. The whole process is actually very logical. First, you have to understand exactly what the API is supposed to do. Then you get your testing environment and your tools all set up. After that, you send a request and, this is the important part, you validate the response to make sure it's what you expected. And finally, you have to test both the happy path when everything goes right and the negative scenarios to see what happens when things go wrong. Now, I know this can sound a little abstract, so let's make it super concrete. Let's imagine we're testing the API for a mobile banking app. So our test begins with a simple question, an ask. We're using that get method to request the balance for account number 12345. We are literally asking the bank's system, hey, can you tell me the balance for this account? And here's the answer we get back. Now notice it's not a pretty screen with fancy graphics. It's raw, structured data. It confirms the account ID, tells us the balance is 5,000, and the currency is INR. It's the app's job on your phone to take this raw data and make it look nice for you. But here's the thing, just getting an answer isn't enough. Is it the right answer? Is it secure? A really good tester doesn't just take the API's word for it. They've got to check the work. So, a proper test validates everything. We check for a status code of 200, which in the world of APIs means success. We double check that the balance and currency are correct, but, and this is just as important, we test for failure. A request for an account that doesn't exist should give us a 404 not found error, and trying to get data without the right password must give us a 401 unauthorized error. Seeing those errors is actually a success because it means the security is working perfectly. Now, of course, testers aren't doing all of this by hand. They have a whole toolbox of powerful software to help automate this stuff. Tools like Postman let them send any kind of request they can dream up, while tools like JMeter can pretend to be thousands of users all at once to really stress test the system. And really, that's what it all comes down to. All of this work, this invisible testing happening behind the scenes, is what lets our digital lives run so smoothly. It is the unsung hero that makes sure your apps just work, your data stays safe, and things happen instantly when you tap a button. So here's a thought to leave you with. The next time you order food or transfer money or check the weather on an app and it works flawlessly, maybe you'll give a little nod to the thousands of tiny, silent API tests that we're all passing in the background just to make that seamless moment possible for you. Thanks for tuning in.